Hello everyone and welcome back to our channel. Imagine the most innocent soul on the street suddenly gone in a single moment of uncontrolled rage. What happened to Sam Blakeman is a kind of tragedy that changes an entire community forever. Weatherfield is left devastated when young Sam Blakeman becomes the victim of a violent attack that ends in his heartbreaking death. What started as rising tension around Megan spirals into a tragic moment that shatters Sam's family, shakes the residents of the street, and leaves everyone questioning how such a kind and brilliant young boy could be taken so suddenly. Alright, let's talk about this storyline because it's honestly one of the most emotionally crushing arcs to ever unfold on the cobbles. Fans of Coronation Street have seen plenty of drama over the decades, but what happened to Sam Blakeman hit in a completely different way. This wasn't just another argument or scandal between neighbors. This was a tragedy that left the entire community grieving. The story begins with tension quietly building around Megan. For several weeks, her behavior had been raising serious concerns among the people who live in Weatherfield. Some residents noticed her becoming more volatile, more unpredictable, and increasingly overwhelmed by anger and frustration. Conversations about her began popping up here and there. People exchanged worried glances. A few even tried confronting her, hoping to calm things down before the things escalated. But as we have seen so many times in life and in drama, sometimes the warning signs appear long before the disaster. And unfortunately, not everyone recognizes how serious they really are. While all of this tension is simmering in the background, young Sam Blakeman continues living his life in the quiet, thoughtful way that made him so beloved. Sam, the son of Nick Tilsley, has always been portrayed as one of the gentlest and most intelligent young characters on the street. He is the kind of kid who stands out not because he causes trouble, not because he's curious about the world in ways that inspire the people around him. Sam loves books, he loves learning, he loves looking up at the stars and thinking about the mysteries of the universe. Astronomy fascinates him, and he often spends time talking about space exploration, planets, and the idea that someday humans might discover things far beyond our own world. His quiet enthusiasm and thoughtful personality make him incredibly endearing to viewers and to the residents of Weatherfield. And that's exactly what makes this storyline so painful. On the day everything changes, nothing seems unusual at first. The street appears calm. Sam is excitedly discussing a school project, talking about space and the possibilities of future discoveries. His eyes light up as he explains his ideas, and you can see the pride in his father's face as he listens. Nick watches his son with that familiar mixture of love and admiration that any parent would recognize. At that moment, he has no idea that his life is about to be torn apart in a matter of hours. Meanwhile, Megan's emotional state continues deteriorating. She feels trapped, misunderstood, and increasingly convinced that the people around her have betrayed her. Arguments have already taken place in the days leading up to this moment, and those confrontations only fuel her growing sense of anger. By the time the fateful encounter happens, Megan is already on edge. Her emotions are running dangerously high, and she's struggling to control the storm of frustration and rage building inside her. Then everything spirals out of control. During a heated confrontation, Megan lashes out in anger. The situation escalates far more quickly than anyone expects. Voices are raised, tempers flare, and before anyone fully understands what's happening, Sam becomes caught in the middle of the chaos. In a horrifying moment that shocks everyone present, Megan loses control completely and violently attacks Sam. The scene unfolds in a blur of panic and disbelief. Witnesses freeze in horror as the confrontation turns into something far more serious than anyone could have imagined. People shout for help. Some try to intervene, but the damage is already done. Sam collapses, and suddenly the entire street is thrown into chaos. Residents rush toward him, desperately trying to help. Someone frantically calls for an ambulance while others attempt to confront Sam and keep him conscious. The atmosphere becomes frantic and terrifying as people realize just how serious the situation is. Then Nick arrives. The moment he sees what's happening to his son is almost unbearable to watch. He feels with confusion and fear as he rushes towards Sam, desperately trying to understand what went wrong. He kneels beside him, calling his name over and over again, pleading for him to wake up. His voice breaks with panic and disbelief. It's the kind of raw, emotional moment that hits viewers right in the heart. When the ambulance finally arrives, paramedics move quickly, doing everything they can to stabilize Sam before rushing him to the hospital. The residents of Weatherfield stand frozen on the street as the vehicle drives away, carrying with it the hope that maybe, somehow, Sam will survive. At the hospital, the tension becomes almost unbearable. Friends and neighbors gather in the waiting room to support Nick as doctors fight to save Sam's life. The usually lively atmosphere of the street has been replaced by silence, worry, and fear. Everyone is praying for good news, even as the possibility of the worst outcome begins creeping into their thoughts. Doctors work desperately in the operating room, but the injuries Sam suffered during the attack turned out to be far more severe than anyone initially realized. Finally, doctor steps out to speak with Nick, and before he even says a word, the look on his face tells the whole story. Sam Blakeman has died. The moment that news is delivered becomes one of the most heartbreaking scenes in the history of the show. Nick collapses under the weight of grief, unable to comprehend how the bright, kind boy he was talking to just hours earlier could suddenly be gone forever. His cries echoes down the hospital corridor as friends try to comfort him, but nothing can soften the unimaginable pain of losing a child. Soon the entire community learns the devastating truth. Weatherfield falls into mourning. Flowers begin appearing outside the flat house. Neighbors leave handwritten messages filled with love, sadness, and memories of Sam. Teachers from his school speak about how intelligent and thoughtful he was, describing how his curiosity and kindness inspired others around him. People gather quietly, remembering the boy who dreamed about stars and galaxies. Sam's love for astronomy becomes a recurring symbol of the tragedy. Many residents remember how he would talk about the universe and how excited he was to learn new things about space. The grief spreads far beyond his immediate family. The loss touches everyone who knew him. Meanwhile, the focus inevitably turns toward Megan. The police begin investigating the attack, and Megan is forced to face the horrifying reality of what her actions have caused. Earlier, she had been driven by rage and desperation, but now those emotions are replaced with shock, regret, and overwhelming guilt. The scenes showing Megan realizing the consequences of her actions are incredibly powerful. She struggles to process the fact that her uncontrolled anger has taken the life of an innocent child. Nothing she says or does can undo what happened. Residents react in different ways. Some demand justice, insisting that Megan must face the full consequences of what she did. Others experience more complicated emotions, while they recognize that Megan's actions were unforgivable. They also acknowledge that her instability had been building for weeks without anyone stepping in effectively. The tragedy forces the entire community to confront a difficult truth. Sometimes warning signs are ignored until it's too late. But the emotional center of the story remains Nick's grief. Scenes of him returning home to Sam's bedroom are almost impossible to watch without tearing up. This room is filled with reminders of the life that was lost. Sam's books sit neatly on the shelf. His telescope stands near the window where he used to look at the stars. One moment in particular stands out. Nick finds a note Sam had written about his dream of becoming an astronaut someday. Reading those words breaks him completely. The realization that Sam's dreams will never come true is simply too much to bear. The storyline also sparks conversations throughout Weatherfield about mental health, responsibility, and community support. Characters begin asking difficult questions about whether something could have been done earlier to prevent the tragedy. As time passes, the residents come together to honor Sam's memory. A memorial gathering is organized where people share stories about the boy who loved learning and always believed there was good in the world. The event is filled with sadness, but also moments of warmth as people reflect on how much Sam meant to them. Nick gives a deeply emotional speech during the memorial. Through tears, he talks about Sam's intelligence, kindness, and curiosity about the universe. He tells everyone that Sam believed the universe held endless possibilities, and that even though his life was tragically short, the love he gave to the world will never disappear. The moment is both heartbreaking and beautiful, and for fans, it becomes one of the most unforgettable storylines ever told on the street. The storyline leaves a lasting impact on Weatherfield because it shows how a single moment of violence can change everything. Sam's death doesn't just affect one family, it ripples through the entire community, forcing everyone to examine their actions, their assumptions, and the ways people sometimes overlook warning signs. The tragedy also highlights the importance of recognizing emotional instability before it spirals into something irreversible. Characters begin questioning whether earlier intervention could have changed the outcome, and that reflection becomes a key theme moving forward. For the community, Sam's death becomes a turning point that reshapes relationships and priorities across the street. Honestly, this storyline is one of the most emotionally powerful arcs the show has ever delivered. Sam was such a unique character, quite intelligent and genuinely kind. Losing someone like that hits harder because he represented hope and curiosity in a world that often feels chaotic. The scenes with Nick were especially heartbreaking. Watching a father face the unimaginable loss of his child is the kind of storytelling that stays with viewers long after the episode ends. And while it's painful to watch, stories like this also remind audiences about the importance of compassion, awareness, and stepping in when someone clearly needs help. By the end of this devastating storyline, Weatherfield is forever changed. Sam Blakeman's death becomes more than just a shocking twist in the drama. It becomes a moment that reshapes the entire community and leaves an emotional mark that will be felt for years. Even in a place filled with arguments, betrayals, and dramatic secrets, the loss of an innocent life is something no one can simply move on from. But now I want to hear from you. Do you think the residents of Weatherfield could have done more to prevent this tragedy? Should Megan face the full consequences of her actions, or is there room for understanding given her instability? And do you think the community will ever truly recover from losing Sam? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. And if you enjoyed this deep dive into one of the most emotional storylines on the screen, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss the next big storyline breakdown.